I listen to a podcast called the Vendor Table Podcast, who usually have some really good tips and just conversation that I love listening to keep updated on the wedding industry and what's going on. And recently they had a guest that talked about an actual bride calling her after signing an agreement and saying that the groom has died as a way to get out of the contract. And she actually believed her and she thought he had, and they had a big cry session. I'm actually going to clip it so you can listen to it because it's on Reel.
So this was like probably 5 or so years ago. I had a couple, was planning for, and they gave initial deposit. We were like on our way, whatever. The wedding was probably close to a year away. And I got a call from the bride to be, and she says, unfortunately, the groom passed away.
Oh.
So, we're like crying together on the phone, really, really sad. And she asks for her deposit back. And, as any wedding professional, like, you have your contracts, all deposits non-refundable. They're in most contracts, as are in mine. But obviously, when the groom dies, it's kind of hard to have a wedding without him. And also, I'm not, a monster. So it's like, yes, come get the deposit. So she comes in, she gets it, like, we hug, we're on our way. Fast forward like 3 or so weeks. I got a phone call from the groom.
Holy
Shut
shit.
the fuck up.
And here's the thing, I actually want you to click over to their channel and go watch the full episode because it was so good. But here's some things that I want to note from that. Now, just the idea of someone calling and lying about a partner dying as a way to get out of a contract just seems ludicrous to me. But that's the day and age we live in. People do things that's sometimes unpredictable. Now, usually in this case, what I'm usually throwing out at people when it comes to contracts are tips just like, you need to make sure that you're vetting your clients, which I'm sure this person's already done. Like, she's in an agreement with them. They're in the planning process, even though it doesn't seem like it fully started. I'm usually saying something like, you need to sign a contract with your clients. She did that. And you need to make sure you got a deposit. She did that. In fact, that was one of the reasons why the bride was lying, because she wanted to get a refund on the deposit. So here are some different tips I'm going to offer you in light of this conversation. Guys, as I said, go and watch the full conversation because this is such a good lesson to learn as you're going through working in your business and as you go through the industry. Things like these will always pop up, but I love learning from other people's experiences. And by the way, go follow their podcast. They have such good information and content, but this is a great way to learn. Even if you've not experienced something, you can learn from someone else. But here are 3 lessons I still want you to take away from this. The first is that you need to communicate things clearly and document everything. Now, yes, I know this was an unusual one in that the person called on the phone and said, oh yeah, my spouse died. And in that moment, all she seemed to have been offering was sympathy, right? Because that's such a traumatic moment. So they're both on the phone. She's consoling her. They're crying together. But here's what I want you to do, right? I want you to make sure that you document everything. Make sure you're keeping emails, files, records, making notes of text messages, phone calls, all of that. Because documentation is so important when you're dealing with clients because you never know what's going to happen, right? It's important that things are communicated clearly so that people know, okay, if this happens, here's our next step. Oh, this is what you said on this day that your spouse died. Here's a record. I do have of that for when the spouse called and is actually alive, right? But just ensure that you're documenting everything and you're communicating everything clearly with your clients. Number 2 is be prepared for the unseen, right? Now, I do here only for this reason. You can't prepare for anything. You can't prepare for everything in life. But here's the thing. In the event planning space, one of the things that I find is there is always something popping up. Now, of course, this is a rare and unusual circumstance that somebody would go to this extent to lie to get a refund back. But sometimes just being prepared for things that might be out of the norm can help you in certain situations, right? Clients will lie. Clients will do things that's unpredictable. Guests will do things that's unpredictable. Try your best. Never just think that everything will go as planned. Have your plan, have a contingency plan, and then have a contingency plan for your contingency plan. That's my biggest tip in this one. Now, tip number 3 is to actually seek legal advice if necessary. Because here's the thing, this planner, like, she has a contract in place. There's a contract in place that was signed, there's a deposit made, right? And this person just lied to get out of it. So if this is the case that you find yourself in, and maybe you've already given back the deposit, or, I hope you don't find yourself in this situation, what can you actually do in this case to actually get something back, or to hold this client accountable if if this is what you wish to do, right? What can you do in this case? Seek legal advice if necessary. Now, guys, I had to do a reaction video to this one only because I thought it was funny, but not funny. It was funny in that the idea that someone would go to this length to actually just get a deposit back seems a little ridiculous. But the idea that someone who is an adult felt like they couldn't have a conversation with a vendor just to say, you know what, our plans have changed. We can no longer do this. What can we work out? Is it that we lose the deposit? Are we able to get something back? But just to have an actual genuine conversation and see if there's something that could have been negotiated out of this. Now, if you're someone who ever feels like you're in the place in your business where you're running into clients who always have these issues, guys, I actually want you to drop a comment and ask questions, because there's so many of you who I know follow her, watch it, who might be having situations you feel like you have no support. Comment below. Someone will be out there who sees it. I might be able to answer, but someone else might be able to see it and provide an answer based on their own experience. Now, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And of course, don't forget to head over to the Vendor Table podcast. You can also go check out their podcast as well.